Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and my next guest picked up another big win this past weekend at UFC Nashville. Also got a post-fight bonus as well. Dustin Jacoby, how's it going, Dustin?
What's up, Curtis? Everything's going really well, man. I'm riding that wave. I'm on cloud nine still. It was an excellent weekend, etched in the memory book forever. So I'm doing awesome.
Absolutely, man. Well, we'll just start right there, man. I mean, just kind of give me your first thoughts on, how the fight played out and, up to your expectations and just kind of the whole experience in Nashville.
Yeah, well, it definitely passed my expectations. It couldn't have went any better. Kennedy Nzechukwu is a great opponent. He's a guy that was on the rise, had three really impressive wins over some tough competition, and was knocking on the door to enter the top 15. But it was my job to make sure it didn't happen that night and on my time. And I defended my spot once again, man. It's a big win, a career-defining win. When my back was against the wall, I didn't feel a ton of pressure. I was on a 9-fight unbeaten streak. I had the split decision to Khalil Roundtree that I think was not scored correctly. And then, of course, the loss to Azimuth. So either way, coming off of two losses and to be able to put a guy who had a lot of momentum on his side out in the first round was a big accomplishment.
Yeah, because Kennedy is a guy, obviously he's a really tough guy too, but I think what surprised a lot of people too was he came out like pressing forward pretty much right from the get-go, right? And that's something that I feel like, has been kind of missing from his game is that he tends to start a little bit slower, but this time he started right out of the gate. Was that something that you expected, you and your camp expected in the fight, or was that kind of something that you had to adjust to right away?
I definitely had to adjust to it right off of the bat. Two things stuck out right away when we touched gloves in the center. I thought, for one, man, this guy's a lot bigger than I remember him at weigh-ins. And for two, I was like, man, he is really putting the pressure on me. He is in my face. I need to do a good job of using my reach, using my long punches, my jabs, my crosses, walking him down, sticking and moving. The game plan was to beat up his leg, really utilize my kickboxing, but he was just on top of me, man. And I knew I just had to weather that first little storm. I was doing a great job of feinting, drawing things out of him, making him miss. He did catch me a couple times, including the time right before I caught him, but I certainly didn't feel those punches. And I thought I just fought flawlessly, drawing it out of him, and caught him right on the kisser with a perfect counter punch and put him down. And I capitalized on the moment. He went down, and I was all over him, man. And I knew that that's my job, is to attack him until the ref pulls me off. And he was just covering up. He was covering up strong. He wasn't doing anything to advance his position, and I was raining it down, whether they were getting through or not. The ref sees the guy that got dropped and who's hurt, and he sees a guy that's just covering up and not advancing his position. I think I did a great job of finishing. The ref called it. The rest is history, man. So it was an epic night.
One thing that's really stood out about you, especially over your last 10 fights, is that your ability to make those mid-fight adjustments really quick has really improved a lot. Do you feel like that's something that's been kind of part of your game that you've really improved, especially at this stage of your career?
Well, yeah, man, exactly. This stage of my career, I'm a veteran of this fight game. I've been in there many times. I think that was like my 49th or 50th pro fight between kickboxing and MMA and boxing, as I'm 1-0. But yeah, I've got a lot of experience in there, and it's not my first rodeo. And if I can get to that mindset that I was in that night, the way I was flowing and the vibes I was feeling, and just how I took it all in and really captured that moment, there is nobody ranked above me in this division that I know I can't beat. It's just about getting into that right mental state of mind and being able to let it flow and let it go, when it really matters. And I was able to do that Saturday night, and I'm very excited and happy with my performance.
Always great to get that post-fight bonus too, huh? Obviously, it's got to feel good to get that recognition. Did you get a chance to speak with Dana White after the fight, and how much does it mean to you to get that recognition from him in the UFC?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime you can get a big win like that and get the 50K, that's just icing on the cake. We never expect that, but we go in there to collect 2 checks for sure. 3 checks is a bonus. And you get your show money, your win money, and the fight bonus. Just icing on the cake, man. It feels really good to be rewarded, and just shows that all my hard work is not for nothing, man. I mean, it's paying off, and we just have to continue doing what it takes to be properly prepared and to make sure we can go out there and execute and collect those 3 checks each and every time.
How much does it mean to you, like as a fighter, to have that financial security, getting that post-fight bonus and all that? Like, kind of give me some insight to how much that means to fighters, especially those, you've been there once. They're up and coming and are clawing and trying to get their way to the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When you can, put that little extra money in the bank and you don't have to stress over bills and worry about how you're going to pay for the next training session or gas to get to the gym or your strength conditioning dues, your gym dues, all the above, man. Anytime you can pad a cushion and relax, it really does take a lot of the pressure off. But I've gotten to the point in my career where I don't really feel the pressure, man. Pressure is something I think you feel when you're not prepared. I didn't feel any pressure. I knew I was on a 2-fight skid. But again, the Khalil Roundtree fight, I don't look at that as a loss, and I don't think the UFC did either. So while my back was against the wall, I didn't feel like I just had to go out there and I had to get a win. I knew, losing 3 in a row is never good, and you're skating on thin ice at that point. But I didn't feel a lot of pressure, and I just felt really comfortable. I felt really in the zone. Like I said earlier, if I can get to that same state of mind that I was in for that fight in that particular moment, I mean, watch out, dude, because I truly believe, what if I am a world champion? What if I can grab that light heavyweight championship, man? What if? And if you can believe it, you can see it, you can achieve it. And I think that's where I'm at in my career, man. I wholeheartedly believe that I can compete with the best guys in the world. And it's just about going out there and executing.
And I saw a recent post on your Instagram too. It was kind of like a reflection post, 2020 to now, like just kind of the journey you've been on with this, second stint in the UFC. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like when you reflect on your journey and, how your career has gone to this point. I mean, what are some of the biggest things you've taken away and you've learned and all that?
Yeah, man, it's just to sit back and reflect on it. It's such a wild roller coaster ride. And, of course, we're living at the top right now, but there is the valleys, there's the lows that come with it, man. And you just got to continue picking yourself up and swinging, man. You got to keep going at the bat. You got to be, to hit the game winning home run, you have to be willing to strike out in the same batter's box. And that just is about stepping up time and time again and not getting defeated. And again, it's all a mindset state of mind and just confidence, man. You got to have it. It's required to be able to succeed and accomplish great things in life, especially when you're daring greatly and striving to be the best in the world at whatever it is you do. And it's just, there's so much more meaning, when you've been through it all. I always say I've been through it to get to it, man. And it takes a guy that's been at the bottom, that's had some losses before, that's been dragged through the mud to really know what it takes to dig down deep and win those fights. And I say that time and time again. And now to get the recognition and to financially benefit the way I have been benefiting since getting back in the UFC, man, it's years of work. It's an accumulation of work. It's not overnight success. It's not the last 3 years, but the last 13 years that I've been pro and that I've chose to do this, and my family and I have chose to do this. I'm not all in. My wife is all in, and she's the biggest support system, the true backbone to this, to everything that goes on. Takes such good care of me and does so many things behind the scenes that people will never understand, that in such a special way, man. She's been such a huge supporter, and not just her, but my family and friends. I have a support system that's second to none and makes it so much easier to do things like this and to go travel and feel the love, man. And they just make it so special, and I'm so lucky.
What advice would you give to fighters that, maybe their first stint in the UFC and didn't work out, and for one reason or the other, they were cut or parted ways or whatever? Like, what advice would you give to those fighters that are still scratched and clawing, trying to get back to the UFC, based on the journey that you've been on?
Well, you have to believe in the dream, man. You have to see the dream when nobody else sees the dream. And that's faith right there. Faith is believing wholeheartedly in something that you cannot see and is not physically there. And you have to keep your faith. You can not just that. You have to work hard every day. You got to get up and chase your dreams, man. You got to answer the bell. You got to answer that alarm clock. You got to show up when you don't want to show up, and you just have to persevere, man. This has been a long journey of perseverance through me. I've had my setbacks. Like I said, I've been down. I've had my losses. But you got to take them like a man. Like Dustin Poirier said it best. I can win like a man. I have to lose like a man too. And I carry myself the same way, man. So you just can't give up on the dream. If it's something you believe in, you have to have bulletproof confidence. and just tunnel vision, man, up ahead, and truly believe in whatever it is you're going for, and never give up.
Few more questions for me, man. Once again, I really do appreciate the time. It's great chatting, great catching up with you. I got to get your thoughts on Alex Pereira's light heavyweight debut. Did you get a chance to watch the fight UFC 291? And if so, what did you think of his win over Jan Blachowicz?
I did. I watched for sure. It was the week before my fight, so I was, looking for inspiration from all those guys competing on that card, and I got a ton from Alex Pereira. I thought that he won the fight. I thought he looked good. I thought he had good takedown defense. I thought he weathered the storm, in round one. I thought he did his thing. I thought he did enough, man. He kept it active. He kept it striking. He showed, he stopped Jan from taking him down at will. And another guy I'm so happy for that, he's been a lifelong martial artist, and he devoted so much time and energy and sacrificed so much of his physical well-being, something I truly understand, man. As fighters, we give up so much of our bodies each and every time we go in there in everyday training. And for a guy like that to get rewarded the way he's being rewarded and financially and recognition wise, I'm so happy for that guy, man. And honestly, after watching that fight, it also showed me and made me believe that I could beat those guys. I believe I can be the best in this division. I didn't watch a lot of film on Kennedy's Nzechukwu, but what I did is I remember I told my coach I watched him fight 4 or 5 different times. And I remember at that certain moment, dating back to the last 3 years, that I would watch him fight. The only thing in my mind I would say to myself is I can beat him. I know I can beat him. And sometimes people watch film and they create this monster that's not really there. And if I would have watched film on him preparing for this fight, I would be like, oh my God, he's so tall. Man, he's so strong. Man, he's such powerful takedown. Man, he gets on top, you can't move, and he just takes the life out of you, and he has such good control, and blah, blah, blah. And I create this monster instead of focusing on myself. I watched that guy fight, and while I was impressed, I told myself, I know I can beat him. And going back to the Pereira Jan fight, I was very impressed with Pereira. I know I can beat those guys, man. So I'm very confident in myself, and I'm excited that, I'm finally to that level in my career. It's taken so long, man, but I truly believe I've always had it deep inside of me, and now I'm able to express it openly and freely with my, creativity inside the octagon.
Do you feel like that's almost kind of a trap that some fighters get into, like focusing too much on your opponent rather than, focusing more on yourself and what you can control?
100%. That's something that I've learned. Another thing I tell the fighters throughout this career: do you need to know their tendencies? Yes. Do you need to know what they look like on film? Yeah, you need to know what they're good at. I would recommend maybe having your coach or your teammates, your buddies watch the fight. You don't watch the fight, but then just listen to them and take your advice, because when you start concentrating on your opponent, I've said it time and time again, you create this monster that doesn't exist. And one thing I've noticed throughout my entire career, when I game plan, when I watch opponents, and when I watch them fight other people, I see them do these amazing things. I see them have this great control, but that never happens to me when I'm in there. Prime example, I fought David Branch earlier in my career, and he's such a great jiu-jitsu, a black belt. And I was so scared of getting taken down, and I was so scared of him wrestling me and controlling me. And while he took me down once every round, I was able to get up, and I nullified his jiu-jitsu. And I'll never forget that fight. Told me, dude, you lost this fight because you gave this guy way too much credit. You didn't go in there and believe in yourself. And yeah, or should you be aware of what they're good at? Of course. But you need to believe in yourself more than you believe in this guy that you're fighting. And that's another thing I tell the up-and-coming fighters.
Last question for me, man. Obviously, fresh off of this big win, but I got to ask you, like, what's kind of the initial timeline for your return? Are you trying to get at least one more in by the end of the year against a top 10 guy, or what's kind of the plan as of right now?
Yeah, I definitely want to keep the momentum going. I don't want to slow the momentum by any means, especially with my age and where I'm at. And the opportunity's never been greater within the division. My fall is, booked up a little bit. My wife and I are going on our 10-year wedding, honeymoon or wedding anniversary. And we're going to go to Hawaii for several days. I've got an elk trip planned after that. And I'm getting inducted into my college Hall of Fame at one of their games in October back in Quincy, Illinois. And I just have a lot going on. And if there was an opportunity and I got the right, opportunity, of course I could put whatever on hold. Or, I can enjoy the fall a little bit and I can come back in the spring. You just never know, man. We'll have to see what the UFC presents, which opportunity arises, what I want to do. I'm in a really good position where I can pick and choose, and we'll just have to let the cards fall where they may and pick up where they go.
Absolutely, man. Well, before we wrap things up here, I'll give you the final word to shout out your team, anyone working with your camp, sponsors, anything like that. I'll give you the final word.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank my team at Factory X, my team at Land Out Performance. They always have me properly prepared for fights. My management team, Iridium Sports Agency. Those guys are the best, and it's just completely changed my life and changed my career since teaming up with them. And I'm surrounded by great people, and good things have just continued to happen. My wife, of course, my closest family and friends, and believe in me and support me and show up each and every time. Those guys are the best. And man, I'm just really thankful to be in the position I'm in and to be surrounded by the people that I'm surrounded. You're only a product of your environment, man. And I've got so many great people around me that help me succeed on a day in and day out basis. And I want to be anything without them. So, I look forward to getting back in there, and when I do, climbing that ladder and hopefully, taking one step closer to the ultimate dream, which is UFC gold.
Well, Dustin, it was great to catch up with you. Great to chat with you. Congrats again on the big win, and best of luck with all the great things you have coming up later this year. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, I sure do appreciate you having me on the show, Curtis. We'll catch up again either before or after the next one, man. Thank you.